Great to see you. People are coming in so fast still. All right, it's 11 a.m. So I think it's really important to me that we keep this on time since it's just a 15-minute briefing and I know you've got a ton to do. Thank you for coming, clients, bureaus, agents, all of you. I want to make sure that we update everybody on what we're seeing kind of in the wild with cybersecurity right now. That's why I thought I'd do a quick 15-minute update. So as most of you know, ransomware has been kind of every business's worst nightmare for a decade or more than a decade. Locked systems, disastrous headlines, incredibly huge ransom demands, and in far too many cases for the organizations that it happens to, a very long conversation with your insurance provider afterwards. Most of you who have seen my work, I talk about the United Healthcare breach that happened not so long ago, $22 million ransomware payment, and that's what people fix in their minds as the cost. But at the end of that year that they got breached, they had spent over $3 billion and by now about $5 billion recovering. So this is a major problem just because of ransomware. But it's not that ransomware so much has disappeared. It's a little bit different than that. It's more that it has been upgraded and expanded by what I consider to be an even better business model. Unfortunately, it's a malicious business model, and that is cyber-enhanced fraud. Here's the distinction. Cyber fraud or cyber-enhanced fraud doesn't hack systems. It hacks first and foremost your people, who unfortunately don't come with the automatic upgrades. Recently, in a report we worked on with the World Economic Forum, we learned that CEOs are becoming more worried about cyber fraud or cyber-enhanced fraud, AI-enhanced fraud, even more than ransomware. And that's because it puts ransomware and all types of crime on steroids. It makes it even that much more effective. So cyber-enhanced fraud combines psychological manipulation, social engineering, as I may have talked about to your audience, with sophisticated AI. And it tricks smart people, your employees, your executives, your board, your vendors, you as a family, into making bad decisions that have financially tragic consequences, of course. It might be approving a wire transfer, changing payment details on an outgoing check or payment, downloading ransomware, sharing login credentials, stealing intellectual property, all of these things. And what we are finding is 90% of organizations, especially ones that are new to us, they're coming in unprepared. And that's for a series of reasons. So I want to let you know how AI-enhanced cyber fraud is changing the game. Number one, it is exploiting a lack of employee training. Now, I'm preaching to the choir in this case because most of the people on this call have brought me in for a presentation. They're doing training. They do Cybersecurity Awareness Month. But that is kind of the primary reason that companies are being attacked, because of that human training. Number two, there's no technological alarms with cyber-enhanced fraud, with the human element of fraud, not just the technological. It doesn't ring a bell when somebody is breaking in via one of your employees or executives. There's no reporting requirements on this type of human fraud, or very light requirements. So we don't actually know the impact compared to when a company is breached and they have to report it. And finally, the hardest part is there's very little insurance coverage when it's a human choice that allows a hacker in, as opposed to a system that goes bad. So from this forum and from the results that we have seen, the thing that is kind of a leading indicator is that CEOs and CFOs are paying more attention right now to cyber-related fraud, cyber-enhanced fraud, AI-enhanced fraud, than just to ransomware by itself. And that shows us that this is where real-life companies in the wild are being breached. So the leading form that we still see is when AI-generated communications, so if that's email, that's phishing, and you know that well. If it's text, it's smishing, social media, but now more and more deepfake audio and video that is used to trick your people into sharing very sensitive information, access, or money. Again, it's this idea of hacking people first. As technology has gotten better, we're seeing more and more, and this is something I've been speaking on for years, but really it is taking the primary position that they're hacking your people. And what that means is it's a great competitive advantage for those of you on this call that are listening to it, and that train your people to detect these newest types of fraud. The leading cause of all cyber loss still to this day is bad human decisions. It's you and I and our coworkers, our executives, our boards, our vendors making bad decisions about how they share information and access and money. You'll know if you've seen my presentation recently that a worker, an executive, sent $25 million based on a live Zoom video call where they had deep faked the CEO of the organization, telling the CFO to transfer this money. So it's massive dollar amounts. It's gotten really good technologically, and all we have got is our good decision making to make sure that it doesn't hit us. So I wanted to share these two instances that came into our office because they were simply changed. They were evolved just enough that it caught us almost all the way through to the end. So I thought I'd share these with you. The first one was sent to our marketing manager, to Bronwyn, and it's came from teslatalent.com, and it had to do with exactly what Bronwyn does for us, social media, marketing, that type of thing. So it had done a lot of research, and that's what the AI is doing. It's doing background research in an automated, scalable, accurate way to make these, whether it's phishing or this really isn't phishing, it wasn't going for the credentials right away, but these type of attacks much more believable to your people. So when you click on teslatalent.com, it takes you to a website that is for security, right? It's telling you, oh, you have to click here to make sure that it's secure. This is kind of giving your people a sense that it is okay to click, right? Because it's normal, it's business as usual. This is what they're used to doing. It references security to lower their guard. And then it verifies, and when it does that, it then sends you on to teslatalent.com. So everything still appears very good. Now, if you take a look at this website, you just pan through it, you can see it's exactly what occurs. It's the exact replica website of the Tesla, the legitimate Tesla site. So there's no red flags yet. There's no grammar or spelling errors. Now, if we go back up to the top and we take a look, what it wants you to do in this case is continue with Facebook. Continue with Facebook, which might ring a bell. Why would I be getting into Tesla Talent? But most people are so used to using a single sign-on, like Google sign-on, Facebook, maybe it's something you utilize through your company, that they are very used to this pattern here. And what it's doing, of course, in this case, is it's stealing your one login, your Facebook login, to get into anything else that you access with Facebook. Now, in Facebook's case, you may not use it for your bank and your investments, but when they do this and it's a login for your business single sign-on, that's where it becomes really, really pernicious. So as you will know, if you've been in one of my audiences, there is a two-step process, a brain process that is a shortcut to detecting fraud. And it's amazing that just educating your people on this short two-step process makes a 95+% difference in how much they detect that is fraudulent, because it's not so easy anymore. The first one, of course, is the trigger. The trigger is nothing more than a soundbite that comes into your people's minds the minute that somebody is requesting anything, information, access, to download, to click a link, all of that. And that's changing now because those requests might be coming on video or audio. My grandma, Theta Mae, who I've told some of you about, had just such a trigger reflex. She could spot a scam from like 30 farms over. So when somebody called her and said, hey, Theta Mae, Grandma, this is John. I am in jail and I need you to send money. Her immediate automatic reflex was hogwash. Grandma was a bit of a smoker. Hogwash, right? That is that sense of BS, of being skeptical, of saying to yourself, pause, slow down. I need to think through this and I need to move on to stage 2. I need to stop the interaction. Now, this might be familiar territory, but where you're stopping the interaction now is getting more and more critical because AI is making it easier to fool your people. Moving on to step 2 is the response, which is simply to verify, to make sure that it's a legitimate request through a second source. This is so incredibly powerful to stop all types of fraud. So an example of verifying might be, hey, I'm happy to help. Let me quickly verify. First, I'm going to call you back using a number that we already have on file. Or maybe it's an answer, hey, we don't accept banking or payment changes by email. These are all structured responses that you give your people in advance so they know what to do. We verify by phone, that's our procedure, and it's after you answer a few verifying questions. Hogwash and verify. Now, if somebody is rushing your people or threatening them in some way, if it's urgent, that's not a reason not to do it. That's exactly the reason to do it. And when we build in that emotional connection and we make it personal to what they do in their lives and how this affects them at home, it makes a complete difference. MGM lost $110 million because a hacker used a social engineering scheme in which a person pretending to be an IT help desk person asked to have a password changed. Right there, hogwash. If that person at MGM had been trained on that moment of, hang on, slow down, I need to verify that this is legitimate before I hand over that username and password that let them into $110 million. Super simple, super quick, and MGM unfortunately didn't train on this until after the fact to have that human decision reflex. So if we go back through the Tesla, here's the mistake that Bronwyn made. They didn't apply the hogwash reflex right away. If you look up there, teslatalent.com, how do you know just because it's got the word Tesla in it does not make it legitimate? That is the hogwash moment. You can't go beyond that. There are other indicators inside of this particular email. So how do you verify that? Well, a very simple way is you go to Google and you say, I want Tesla Jobs Official, right? You want the official website. You verify that it's tesla.com. And when you click on that and you go into their careers page, what you see is tesla.com/careers, right? You are verifying that the other website is not correct, whether it's a job posting or a vendor request, a vendor website, your technologist's website. Another way to do it, simple. You say, is teslatalent.com not a real site? That's not right because it's a real site. Is it a legitimate site? And what you'll get first and foremost, especially if you're using Google or even ChatGPT, it'll say, based on available information, teslatalent.com is not the official website, and it appears to be a fraudulent site or part of a phishing scam. Here's the thing. I don't always trust the AI now. There is enough hallucination going on that in that case, I always verify through a second source. In this case, I know scamadvisor.com. I've used it. I've trusted it. And it also says that this is likely a scam. You're verifying in a way that is legitimate to you, and that's not just based on the AI, because it pulls information from fraudulent websites just like from legitimate websites. So fraud doesn't just hack the systems, right? It's removing friction so that your people give what they need to get into the systems. And that makes it a huge competitive differentiator when you train your people. So here's the scam that just about caught me, that I went far too deep on. It came from a person that I know. It said, your tenure as a keynote speaker, so it referenced stuff that's clearly out there, but it made me think, okay, they know me to some degree, and I recognized her picture and her name. I know this person, and they know that I know this person. Hogwash was complicated here because I have a relationship with this person, right? I'm expecting emails from them. What I didn't do immediately was look at closely, and this is what I train on. So, I don't want to be holier than thou. This happens to all of us, and that's why we need constant retraining on the latest methods. I didn't look closely enough that it said at gmail.com. Gmail, any type of mail that's not from the actual end user is always suspicious. Instead, what I did is I went to her LinkedIn account, and I made sure, is she still working there? I then finally, later in the interaction, I took a look down below where it said, beware of impersonation attempts. I'll never reach out from a personal or Gmail account. All legitimate correspondence will come from Palo Alto networks, right? I had it right there. All I had to do was take the 30 seconds to verify it before I went on. Well, I answered that and I said, I don't want your CISO position. I love what I do. I love speaking, but I have somebody who would potentially be. So I leaked another person's name to that. It conversed back and forth with me. It didn't ask for my information immediately, but it started to ask, well, hey, we've got a position that fits you as a spokesperson for Palo Alto Networks, right? It's communicating. And that's one thing that is totally different. It's not using bad language, bad grammar. It's automatically, in a reasonable amount of time, so maybe 15 minutes later, writing me back and communicating. And that makes your people think, oh, this is a real legitimate person. But that's not necessarily what it means. Here she made it, if you're still open to opportunities. So they're continuing the conversation to get more and more information out of me. What they eventually want is for me to give login information for my own company so that they can get inside. Luckily, I stopped it before that. So I'm going to hide myself here and tell you about a positive case with Ferrari, who had been positively trained on BS, on hogwash. So here's what happened. An executive inside of the company did a video Zoom with the CEO, Benedetto Vigna. And in that asked for Vigna to authorize a large wire transfer. But here's what that executive had been trained on. They knew that Vigna's southern accent was a little bit off. The tone was a little off. They noticed inconsistencies in tone. They were urged to assist, confidential, urgent. I'm just giving you the bold words because these are all of the hogwash red flags that if it's one of them, if it's two of them, your people have got to be sensitized to that. So instead of immediately making that transfer, sensing that something was amiss, again, this is all about human emotion and senses, they asked the caller, the fraudster, a question that only Vigna would have known the answer to. The title of a book that Vigna had recommended days earlier. They are verifying in a way that is strong enough that they know it's legitimately them. This simple test, this simple verify for a company that had been trained on BS and hogwash stopped what could have been $100 million mistake just because the people knew, hang on, slow down, I got to think about this. Now, what we've done today is just give an update on the tip of the iceberg of the new type of fraud that AI is bringing across. The task now is to educate your team. So I want to give you a quick summary. AI has given all types of fraud, malware and so forth, a shot of caffeine. It's made it better and better. And by the way, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A and I will answer those as we finish up here. Number two, the AI is what's providing this trust building, right? It's doing enough background research quickly that it gets your people to trust when they shouldn't necessarily trust. It's utilizing hybrid attacks, not just email anymore, but it's using Zoom and text, Slack and Instagram, phone, video, deep fakes, audio. It's using all different types in the same fraud, in the same scam. And it's responding conversationally back in real time. Just because it's conversational, there's no errors, spelling mistakes, and so forth. That doesn't mean it's not AI and it's not fraud. The point here is that every request is hogwash until it is verified by your people through a second source. Now, if you want to send this on to your people, all I want to do is share this information. If you want to send it on to your people, please email me, john@sileo.com. If I get an overwhelming number from the number of people, I think we had to limit registration, I will just send it out to everybody. So if you want it, you will have it, and you can send it on to your people, your clients, your vendors, and so forth. Question and answer, we've got a couple of minutes. I think we've gone over a few minutes anyway. Thank you for that extra 5 minutes. I will, and thank you for your nice comments as well. Let's see. Okay, I've got a question. Is AI helping with detection? Really good question. So yes, AI is beginning on the technological side. One thing AI is great at is, and large language models, is detecting patterns. So when there's a pattern of, hey, I need this password, I need this password, I need this password, AI detects that really well, and these companies are starting to build in. Unfortunately, the criminals who pay nothing for the AI because they steal it, and they have no laws right now internationally governing that, they're using it at a faster pace. The problem is AI is not helping on the human side. That's why we're here emphasizing the human side right now, because there's nothing that says technologically, hey, don't answer that call that you think is from your CEO and give away the bank account information. That's why it's more important than ever to educate the humans. Let's see, other questions. Oh, other types of scams that are going on. One that we're just seeing right now is when there is a breach at a company, they're utilizing, so it's the criminals that have, let's say, your customer list, and they then notify the customers that there's been a breach at your company, and here's what they need to do next. So they're actually using that information to get into the customers, looking like you sending out a breach notification email to get their logins and their new passwords. That's becoming way more common. Let's see. Thank you so much. Those of you, there's a couple who are writing that you're sending this on to your people, to your clients, to your IT team in cybersecurity. Appreciate that, Arun. I appreciate that, the others that have written that. Any other questions personally that you have got in terms of the different scams going on? There's a lot with Zelle and Venmo right now where you get a text and it says, hey, a new account has been set up in your name, and it leads you down a pathway. I'm going to do a video on that one shortly, so keep your eyes out for it if you're on my newsletter. The really pernicious thing about that one is that it comes from a phone number that is your local bank. So if you bank at Wells Fargo in Denver, Colorado, it's coming from the Wells Fargo phone number in Denver, and yet it is a scammer. And when you question if it's a scam, the person says, hey, I'm glad you're asking. We'll never ask for your password. I'm going to pass you on to a supervisor, and they're going to authenticate that this is real. They've got all kinds of information on you. Of course, this has all been collected by AI. And what they end up doing is having you put in a number, which is a phone number. And we just had a client, a future client, who wire transferred $3,500 or who Venmoed $3,500 because it looked so believable. Those are the type of personal things that we're seeing more. Let's see. Mark, let's see. AI might not be able to say a date like 1960 as 1960. That's right. So there are cues. Great one, Mark. There are cues that let you know if it's AI or not. For example, if I had written back, listen, I should have never written back to that job request, right, to be the CISO of Palo Alto Networks. But there are questions that you can ask, and you can find out really from ChatGPT. The questions you can ask where it can't answer very well. Now, the problem with that is what worked yesterday might not work today. So again, verify through another source. I think that does it. I thank you all for hanging on. If you didn't see the whole presentation, email me. I'll send you, the whole thing from the start, a link to the Zoom, and you should be able to trust it. It will come from john@sileo.com. That's my legitimate email address. And listen, I hope to see you at a future event where I can help you out more and help educate your people. Thanks so much. Have a good one.